This is Shelley Kraft coming to you live on SNNLive. We're at the OTCQB Executive Forum at the OTC Marketplace in New York. John Timberlake is with me today from Valeritas. It's a publicly traded company, and the symbol is VLRX. John, welcome to SNNLive.
Shelley, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Let's get started with an overview on Valeritas.
Sure. So Valeritas is a commercial stage organization that we are focused on developing and commercializing innovative technologies for the type 2 patient to both improve the health and the quality of life of those patients.
Tell me how.
So our lead product, or our flagship product, is called V-Go. It's a very easy to use, wearable, non-electronic, and fully disposable insulin delivery device. The patient basically will put the product on their body, their midsection, their arm, or their leg, and then it will deliver insulin continuously over 24 hours. And then the value that the product also has then when you eat, when the patient eats a meal or a snack, they simply will reach down and click buttons on the device and give themselves additional insulin very discreetly. They could do this at the cafeteria, the restaurant, so no one knows what they're doing. And that's very important because 3 out of 4 type 2 diabetics who are prescribed mealtime insulin have said they've never taken insulin out of the house. So we basically are enabling that patient to take the insulin the doctor has prescribed.
So really, let's get down to it. The comparison to how they would do it today because of Valeritas compared to how the technology wasn't available before. Give me the comparative.
Sure. So in the United States alone, there are about 6 million patients with type 2 diabetes who currently inject insulin. Of that, over 4.5 million of them aren't at their A1C or their glucose control, their levels. So those 4.5, 6 million patients, they need something different. So what all those patients are doing today is they're injecting insulin either through an insulin pen or an insulin syringe, drawing insulin out of a vial. And as I mentioned earlier, because of, it's not necessarily the injection, because all type 2s who are taking insulin will have injected. They'll do that at home. The big challenge they have is doing that out in the public, because society as a whole has unfairly basically said, it's your fault you have type 2 diabetes, Shelley, because you didn't exercise, you didn't eat right. Whereas a type 1, it's an autoimmune disease, and they'll inject in public very easily. So what we're trying to do is develop a product that type 2 patients' needs in mind, that they can actually go about and have more of a normal life and not worry about carrying insulin supplies, not worrying about what people think because they're giving themselves insulin when nobody knows what they're doing.
So now I'm going to throw a question at you.
Okay.
It's really a one-word rhetorical question. What would you say if I ask you the word dose?
Dose? The value of this product is the average type 2 patient who's on insulin, they start off taking an insulin dose that's a one-time shot that acts over 24 hours from a basal insulin. I actually launched one of those basal insulins that's the most prescribed insulin in the world before I came to Valeritas. And it's a great way for most patients with type 2 diabetes to start. But the reality is, over time, those patients end up using more and more, or prescribed more and more, or higher dosages of that insulin. But their control is not getting better because the disease is progressive. And in fact, it's all that background insulin is doing with that one shot is essentially that. It's a background insulin. So when you eat, it does nothing for you. You need mealtime insulin with a rapid-acting insulin. So with the V-Go, we come with a product that background insulin is already predetermined and prescribed by the doctor. You don't have to think about it as a patient. And then basically the doctor will tell you every time you eat, take 2, 3, or 4 clicks. We try to keep it really simple because you don't want to make this too complex. Most patients with type 2 diabetes have a lot of other comorbidities. You're taking medicines for blood pressure, high blood pressure, cholesterol. You're going to the pharmacy a lot. So you didn't ask, that's one question you asked me about dose, but it's important because this is single use, fully disposable, it's reimbursed like a drug. So we're covered under Medicare Part D as drug. Most commercial plans cover us at the pharmacy. In fact, 95% of all of our product dispensed last year was dispensed at retail pharmacy or mail order. So it's really a product designed for the patient with type 2 diabetes, and it's delivered and fulfilled like the patient with type 2 actually gets their medicines.
So, you took my next question and answered it without me asking it, which was reimbursement. Do you want to give me more detail on that?
Sure. I think it's really important because you have a type 2 population of all those type 2s who are taking insulin, 40% of them are Medicare age patients. So the fact that our product is reimbursed like a drug under Part D with a monthly copay, and in fact, you cannot be denied for this product. The amount you pay may depend on your formulary position, but you can get this at the pharmacy. And then the commercial patients can also get it at the pharmacy for most of our plans. So it's really instrumental, and it's how we designed this product to be single-use, fully disposable. So we're not classified as a durable medical equipment like a pump or a wheelchair or anything else.
So it's in the market already?
Yes, we launched in the United States late in 2002. We launched at a very small regional approach. We did $18 million in revenue in the United States last year. We had positive gross margins. As a company, we are at commercial stage, as I mentioned. We've overcome a lot of those hurdles emerging companies have. We have regulatory approval not only in the United States, but also in Europe. We have produced this product at commercial scale. In fact, we've produced over 14 million products to date, and we have capacity to support $100 million in sales already built out. So we have built the capacity for our future growth that we expect. We have great clinical data to support the benefits of taking the insulin through the V-Go versus injection therapy. And as you mentioned, we have very solid reimbursement for the patients.
So interestingly enough, I'm hearing that, you're a medical device company.
Yes, we are. We are clearly a medical device company, but what's unique about it is we have developed a product with the patient at mind with the advantage of being reimbursed like a drug. And that is very important for the average type 2 patient because they don't want to go through high deductibles and the hurdles you have to get a pump or to get something complex through your DME. So everything we've done is really about the patient. What does the patient need? Develop the product, commercialize the product around the patient needs.
Important to me also is, first of all, patient adoption by, even though it's prescribed, do they adopt using the device? Number two, compliance is a really big issue that the medical community fights with the patient community. Right. How do you answer that?
Yeah, so let me do the latter one first. So compliance or adherence, however you want to call it, is very important. And as I mentioned, the biggest challenge with patients with type 2 diabetes who are prescribed mealtime insulin is they just don't take those shots out of the house. In fact, they don't even take 15-20% of those in the house. So we can take that and dramatically increase that compliance by once they put the product on and they leave the house, they don't have to carry anything and they can inject it. So we're seeing great compliance with our mealtime insulin. In fact, we have many published studies that have shown patients who were prescribed mealtime and background injection insulin therapy, when they went to the V-Go, they lowered their glucose significantly. They used anywhere from 20 to 40% less prescribed insulin per day, and they got better results. So if you're using less insulin, you typically have less weight gain, you have less side effects, and you basically have a better overall feeling of your life because you're feeling good, your sugars are lower, and you're not using all that insulin that was prescribed.
So if sales are increasing, technically to me, that means adoption is growing.
Yes. So we as a company, the adoption is very good. We were a relatively small company launching. We have currently only about 30 sales representatives out in the market. Part of our effort now is to fund our growth. So we used our initial capital to get through all these hurdles I mentioned. Now we're at a space where almost every dollar that we now take in capital is to fund growth and to expand our ability to get to more doctors and therefore get to more patients.
I imagine that type 2 is probably a larger population than type 1. Is it something that you're addressing?
Yeah, so the V-Go, the product is actually cleared by the FDA for type 1 or type 2 adults. So we're actually cleared for a type 1 product for patients. We are designed it and we're commercializing it for the type 2 population because it's a greater unmet need. There are some very good electronic type 1 pumps out there. And that's not something we're trying to satisfy that need. We really are focused on the much, much larger population who all they have is insulin injections and then the big jump to a very complicated electronic pump, which is more than they need and insurance doesn't want to pay for. So that's where we're focused. We are getting type 1 use, but we don't have to promote that. That endocrinologist knows the right patient who could use our product. And the patient it's not appropriate for, they know when to use an electronic pump or injections.
John, what's your background?
Yeah, so my background is after spending 6 years with Deloitte, so kind of a financial accounting background, I went into the pharmaceutical industry. I spent 15 years in pharmaceuticals, which the company now called Sanofi. My last 7 years focused exclusively on type 2 diabetes products, pills and injectables and insulins. As I mentioned earlier, I was responsible for Lantus. It hit $1 billion when I left the company and became one of the most prescribed insulins. It's a great foundation product for type 2 patients. I came to Valeritas 10 years ago because I saw this technology. I saw the need to help the type 2 patient after basal insulin. What do you do to help them really do that background, that mealtime insulin combo? And I came here really as the first non-engineer or accountant that the company had to try to build a business plan to support the technology.
Where was the technology originally developed?
Everything's developed in-house. So we don't have any royalties. Everything is in-house developed by our own technology, and we call it the HPAC technology because the product is no electronics, no batteries. It's basically a hydraulic-based delivery system. And our first focus is in diabetes because it's such a huge unmet need.
So do you also make the insulin?
No. So the product does not come with insulin. So like other insulin delivery devices like pumps and such, the patient gets a prescription for a month's supply of the Vigos, and they get a prescription for vials of insulin, which is important because then we have a transfer device. It's a very easy process to transfer the insulin into the Vigo. There's no measuring, there's no syringes, there's no calculating. You can't overfill the device. You basically, it takes a matter of less than 20 seconds to fill it, you put it on, and you're done. So right now, that's our current product. We do have a life cycle management project in development, which will come with a pre-filled cartridge. So right now, we don't really care what insulin the patient uses. It's approved to be used with a fast-acting insulin, and we've studied with the two largest insulins out there in this market, Humalog and Novolog.
John, it's almost 2017.
Right.
Tell me what you can about some milestones that you'd like to see achieved by the company within 12 months.
Sure. So as we look into 2017, we haven't been given real specific guidance yet, but I can tell you that with our new, very capital-efficient sales and marketing strategy, we're going to return to clear double-digit growth next year. We're going to be introducing additional sales representatives, additional clinical data, and I feel very confident that we are positioned for multiple years of sustained double-digit growth in this company.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get a website for more information.
You can find us at valeritas.com.
I'm Shelley Kraft. This is SNNLive, and we're coming to you live from the OTCQB Executive Forum at the OTC Marketplace in New York City. John, I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Shelley.
You're welcome.